I want to get straight in, if it's OK with you, to this row within your own party. One of the headlines this morning calling your leader Sir Keir Starmer, and certainly his retention of a controversial Conservative policy to cap children benefits to 2 has not gone down well in some quarters within your party.
Well, look, I wouldn't call it a row. What I would say is that, these are the difficult decisions that we are having to make. And the difficult decisions are this, which is that there are lots of things that we would like to do, good Labour policies or reversing bad Conservative policies. There are lots of things that we would like to do. But the economic reality of where we find ourselves, especially now, means that we are just unable to commit to all of those. Because after 13 years, the Conservatives have crashed the economy. We're seeing interest rates still rising, still soaring, the cost of government borrowing going through the roof. We're seeing inflation, core inflation, still going up, and inflation has the biggest impact on the poorest in society. And so, to coin a phrase, there quite frankly, there is no money left. And we have to be really clear and really responsible that we will tackle these big economic headwinds, especially inflation and interest rates, which is having such a damaging effect on ordinary people.
Right.
But also that every policy that we commit to, we know where the money's going to come from. And that's why Keir has been setting out over the last few days that we have to be absolutely disciplined about those decisions, even when they're really hard decisions and they are things that we would otherwise like to do.
But just to be really clear, I mean, your Shadow Cabinet colleague Yvette Cooper refused to say whether or not she was supportive of this. And indeed, Jonathan Ashworth has described it as heinous and vicious, keeping children in poverty. So I would like you, if you will, to say here on live television whether or not you support this policy.
Well, look, both things can be true at the same time. Things can be bad policy.
Do you support a heinous policy, is what you're saying?
This is a bad. We don't support the policy, but what we're saying is it's a bad policy which we've opposed consistently, and it is a bad policy. And what Jonathan Ashworth himself has said both of these things at the same time, which is things can be a bad policy, which this is, and at the same time the economic reality of the situation means that unfortunately we can't then commit to reversing it, and that is true of a whole range of things. And as I say, that is as a direct result of the government's tanking of the economy. And we saw, didn't we, and you've just been talking about the impacts of long Boris. Well, we've also got the impacts of long Truss, if you like, in this situation, which is we saw last autumn what happens when political ideology and your political values and what you'd like to do, when you do those anyway, regardless of the economic situation and regardless of the economic advice. What happens is you have what Liz Truss happened, a disastrous mini budget, a huge run on the pound, interest rates going through the roof, the cost of government borrowing going up, and every time the cost of government... Yeah, but every time the cost of government borrowing go up, which they are doing at the moment, that's less money the government has to spend on frontline public services, on supporting people in poverty, and all the other good things that governments are there to do.
But what we've also seen is a great deal of infighting within the Conservative Party, borne out in some of those examples that you just gave. And we're seeing the same, aren't we, in Labour? I mean, just yesterday, Jamie Driscoll's pulled out as Labour mayor, quitting specifically because he said Sir Keir Starmer wasn't interested in grown-up politics and he hadn't got an agenda of hope and change for the country.
Well, I disagree with Jamie's analysis, and I'm sorry he's decided to run as an independent and therefore run against the Labour Party. But I disagree with him there. We do have a whole range of really ambitious and big policy agendas. We want to turn this country into a clean energy superpower, which will create all these good jobs of the future, bring people's bills down, their energy bills down consistently over many years, give us that energy security that we need. We've got a really ambitious plan to make sure that every young person has an opportunity of life, with breakfast clubs and investment in our early years. years to tackle some of these deep, profound issues of inequality. We're going to scrap the non-DOMS tax status for the super rich so that we can bring in more doctors and nurses into the NHS and get waiting lists down. We are going to ensure that the country and the economy grows so that we have got that money and that income to invest in our public services. So we do have an ambitious plan about how we're going to fix the problems that this country faces, but we have to do that in a way that means the sums add up. And unfortunately, this Conservative government have left the country in a mess, and there is very, very little wriggle room and very little money around. And so unfortunately, we aren't able to do all the good things that we would like to do as quickly as we would like to do them, because there just simply isn't the economic money to do that.